In Devon alone, there are about 20,000 hectares of neglected woodland, mainly native hardwoods, notably oak. This is Cotley Wood, just west of Exeter. Planted and managed as coppice, in the past it supplied a crop of timber of small girth to industrial and agricultural markets. These markets have dwindled. No longer managed, this wood and others like it have outgrown their original use. The challenge now is to bring such woods under management again, to make them productive and conserve them as an essential part of the landscape of Devon. One possibility is charcoal production.
What is happening, in fact, inside the kiln now is that the heat from within the centre of the kiln is drawing air in through the air inlets, and the smoke and tars and things are being forced out of the chimneys. The thick tarry smoke disappears, and you get a sort of almost like a transparent bluish smoke coming off, and then you know that you're beginning to burn the carbon, which of course is what you want to keep. It gets to about 400 degrees centigrade in the middle of the kiln, something like that. But of course around the outside, this is one of the problems with this design of kiln. It's not so hot around the outside. It varies according to the wind speed, but normally it's between 12 and 15 hours, sometimes as long as 18 hours. You then close the kiln down, seal everything up, seal up the air inlets, seal where the flues have been, take the flues off and seal up. Make sure the lid is airtight as well, and then just leave it. You can use any hardwood really, it doesn't matter any type. It's all oak in this wood, so that's what we're using, but it's not ideal. It tends not to make charcoal quite so easily as other thinner bark species like beech. What's happening in here, it's a coppice which we're now converting to high forest. I think this one is quite ancient because we do have some of these old woodland species like wild service tree in here and crabapple, which suggests that it's an ancient wood. On the other hand, there are probably lots of oak coppices around which were in fact planted quite recently, I think, for the tan bark trade. I did a degree in land management, but I got sort of sidetracked into forestry at a fairly early stage. I'd become interested in small woods, neglected woodland in general, and none of the commercial outfits or the Forestry Commission were particularly interested in woods like this. So I decided that I could make a start at least, doing something towards improving them. The main activity is bringing neglected woodland back into management, improving the woodland, so that in years to come there will be a timber crop of some kind. Whereas if you just leave it, then the trees gradually get more and more drawn, smaller and smaller crowns, and very little timber value. That's the idea of thinning. Promote the better trees, and at the same time to give you some kind of return. Before I started in here in this wood, it was because there were so many trees. They were all crowded together. No light was getting to the floor at all, and as a result, the wood was completely dead. And since opening up the canopy, much more light has been let in. We've got a lot more ground flora, and much more in the way of bird life, which I think must be a good indication that things are getting more healthy. People are beginning to manage their otherwise hitherto neglected woodlands, and charcoal, I think, has become more sort of widely known about as a result, because of the need for a market for neglected woodland. And I think farmers are beginning to appreciate the value of their woods. So I think when somebody like myself, who's got a little bit of forestry experience and knowledge, approaches them, and they're quite happy. What they don't like, and what I don't like, is a sort of cowboy contractor who goes in and robs the wood of the best timber and leaves the farmer with a hell of a mess. All the coppice materials I'm bringing out is being used in one way or another. For charcoal, I can use anything up to about 20 centimetre diameter. Above that, it takes too long to do, so I'd use anything bigger than that for logs, firewood. The logs go to local people. The charcoal mainly to local shops, so it can be used for barbecues mainly. It's just a question of going to shops really and trying to persuade them to buy my extra special charcoal. The worst part of the whole thing is the riddling of it and getting it into the bags. After 48 hours you can take the lid off and start riddling. We made about 3 tons of charcoal, I think, last summer, this year, and I suppose we must have used about an acre or 2 of wood from here. To make a ton of charcoal costs about £100. It's 6 tons of wood. It's all got to be felled, cross-cut, and there's £40 worth of paper sacks. So it's quite an expensive operation. We can't really compete on price with the imported material, but I think we can compete on quality, because we get nice big lumps of charcoal from this operation. And there we have our charcoal. Bit of sand's fallen in at the side, but it's not too bad. We import about I don't know, I think about 30,000 tonnes a year, something like that. Mind you, I think about half of that comes in the form of coconut shell, which is used for industrial purposes, which we couldn't supply from this country, obviously. Not a particularly pleasant life, really. It's okay in the summer, not so good in the winter. I suppose actually working in the wood itself, that's okay. Making charcoal certainly isn't romantic. No, that's just sheer hard work and very unpleasant work as well. Very dirty. The fact that I'm actually making something, I think, is something it has a certain amount of appeal to me. I think actually manufacturing something with my bare hands, rather than sitting behind a desk with telling other people what to do. I get the satisfaction, I suppose, that I'm improving some woodland. I mean, I make a living out of it. It's no more than that. I'm certainly not going to make my fortune. So from a financial point of view, I'd be much better off doing something else. But it's just improving the wood, really, I suppose.